it is critically important. This money is not just going out of the United States to another country with no positive impact on the United States. Beyond the issue of autocracy, which is critical enough in defending democracy, it also is a boon to our economy. So they're trying to make that important argument. And of course, now they are facing in the House a speaker who has twice voted against funding, but has now publicly said he will support it, provided we get something on border. So, the message has reached somebody who has been on the fence on this in the past, and they know that, but they're trying to reach over even the heads of the leaders to the representatives from the red states and make this case, and also obviously to people living in the red states who depend on these jobs in the defense industry and others. It's a really important argument for them to be making vociferously at this point, because time is running out, as they say.
We'll get into the border potential, at least for a border deal here in just a second, Rick, but I wonder your thoughts on the message. There's another line that jumps out here. By the end of the year, we will run out of resources to procure more weapons and equipment for Ukraine and to provide equipment from U.S. military stocks. So we now know we've drawn down our supplies as far as we can here. There does seem to be more information here than we've heard recently. Basically, by the end of the year, we are out. Will that motivate skeptical Republicans?
Look, I mean, it helps put pressure on skeptical Republicans. It helps also support Ukraine itself in the sense that, we're trying to get this through before the end of the year. And it sends a message to the Europeans that, if in fact you can't count on us, you need to be prepared to fill the vacuum. Europe's done a good job of supporting Ukraine. There are issues with Ukraine funding in Europe, just like there are here. And I think the White House is doing the right thing by putting everybody on notice that the war is going to continue whether or not we get this package passed before the end of the year. I'm hopeful that Senator Langford is right. On a Sunday show, he said he could get it done before the end of the year, and that would make, I think, a big impact.
Here is Senator James Langford, as Rick mentioned, and his take on talks. He's been at the center of these negotiations.
There's a reason that this hasn't been done in decades, because it's hard. It's very technical work, and there's a lot of challenges that are in it. And anytime you deal with border security, there are a lot of complicating features in this. So we're going through very, very detailed work.
Speaking on ABC this week, Jeanne, it's his job, I guess, to sound optimistic here as one of the lead negotiators. Are you?
He did. I was stunned by how optimistic he sounded, pleasantly surprised. And of course, then we hear Democrats walked away. The reality is, obviously, as usual in the Senate, as hard as this is, you can imagine them coming to an agreement. But it is this push in my mind from the House for H.R. 2 that is going to make this a non-starter in the Senate. And I think that's where we have to see movement. Things always look worse before they get better in Congress. So hopefully that's the case here. But to Langford's point and the history we know, we have been talking about Congress moving forward on immigration for decades to no avail. If they can do this with on the books, 8 days left in the House session before they end in December, I will be stunned and happy beyond. But I am not as optimistic as Langford, and I do hope I'm wrong. But how do you do this? And if they don't do it now, how they do it in an election year, it's almost unthinkable in my mind.